Hey hi, it's the K.Galaxia intro of the video extravaganza, otherwise known as, the point where I mention what to look out for in the video. As always, my videos aren't intended for minors, as I do normally label as such on YouTube, so if you're a minor, maybe don't stay here. I'd recommend you go watch X-Men 93 or something, and go say hi to Rogue for me. You still here? Cool. So first off, Command & Conquer Renegade is a first-person shooter. It's not exactly the most gory one in the world, but it is still an FPS, so keep that in mind. We also have some Red Faction, Half-Life, and Quake 2 in here, as well as a little bit of Soldier of Fortune. Now I know that game can ring alarm bells, so I've done what I can to make sure there's nothing super graphic, and there's no audio from the game either. But of course, mileage can vary. I just wanted to give you the heads up. Speaking of audio as well, the mic quality in this video might actually vary a little bit, because Elgato Wavelink recently had an update and it's not a good one. So you may hear a little bit of noise throughout the video. Some of it will be that program, and admittedly some of it is me. I like to move my arms and stuff when I'm speaking, and you know my ass is sitting bisexually, right? It's not the best recording form, but hell, old habits die hard. Also, a heads up on this now. I mentioned Halo a fair bit in this video. When I started production on this video, Microsoft and by extension Xbox were on the BDS list due to Microsoft aiding the Israeli military, meaning Xbox Game Studios and all of the game studios underneath Xbox, some others who get mentioned in this video, are currently being boycotted, so please do keep that in mind. Since I started production of this video, Halo had another remake announced, and boy howdy is it not for me, it looks a little wank. But more importantly, Halo has been used in a number of really disgusting adverts for the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement Forces, or ICE, or ICE, I'm not sure which one to use, but over in America. Now, I can't really cut Halo out of this video, as I do believe it is important to mention in the story of Renegade. This will make sense, and as it is a game that had a pretty sizable impact both on culture at the time and on myself, it is vital to the story. But I do believe it is far more important for me to say this as well. Fuck ICE. Abolish ICE. If you have a problem with that view, then fuck off. Cry me a fucking river, bitch. Now look, I would prefer if we can keep this out of the comments for the video, but I did want to comment on this because I believe it is an incredibly important thing to mention here. But with all of this out of the way, should we start talking about Command & Conquer Renegade? Because I think that sounds pretty good, babe.
Can we get Parents, please?
Do you know what games your kids are playing?
Is this the new discotheque look for America?
I'm escaping to the one place that hasn't been corrupted by capitalism.
Stop. Zoom in sector 33. Okay, zoom in sector 35. Okay. How did you build this?
Oh no!
Oh hey, hi! I was doing, research. Yeah. Yeah, research. Look, okay, I kinda wanna get back into Blender, and do you have any idea how hard this ass is to model? Just please don't tell SETI this is why I've been borrowing their glasses. But you have to admit, I do look kinda hot in round glasses, just like SETI does as well, and like, holy shit, she has cracked the code. Look, I know it looks like I've just spent my time since the last video just staring at video game asses, but look, I think the UK government is trying to make that harder to do at the moment. Just like, accessing LGBT-friendly materials, and Wikipedia. Maybe. That's kind of fucked up. I do assure you though, I've been doing more than staring at bums. Although since the last video, I have actually completed Metro Gravity and gone back in and unlocked the bonus costumes. Of course I did, okay? Look, that game just has the schmovement, and it also has really good brain-tickling puzzles. Like, if it looks like your kind of jam, I'd give it a go if you can. But amongst all of this, I had a weird calling in the back of my head. It might have come on because my recommended music playlists started hitting me with some Frank Klepacki. It might have hit because I have a weird feeling of wanting to play and stream Daikatana. But I have to be honest with you all, I have no idea where this inspiration came from. Also, I've taken off the glasses because they're SETIs. They need them to see. I woke up one day thinking to myself, yeah, I'm going to make a video on Command & Conquer's weird but extremely interesting black sheep entry, Renegade. It's something I find very hard to explain my feelings on because I have a continuous brain fog whenever I try and talk about that game. That brain fog is the poop. No more. So darling, want to stick around and listen to a professional video silly girl talk about her feelings on Command & Conquer Renegade in a way that'll maybe explain why they love this peculiar entry despite its shortcomings, theorizing on things that might have impacted its development and lamenting what could have been, as well as talking about why she said there's not much else out there like it in terms of weird, hard, and fun alternative explorations of established franchises. Condensed into a video that'll probably have a longer runtime than she expected. Really? Okay, go grab your Mammoth Tank plushie and your Kane Dakamakara. Because look, I know at least one of you has one. Because hey, this girl's got a present for you. Okay, so I get it. You're watching a video on Renegade, the 3D FPS spin-off of Command & Conquer. If you're a fan already, you most likely don't need a primer. But, hear me out. It lets me set the scene a little more, and also I spoke with a friend of mine recently about Command & Conquer because, well, we got talking about our favourite video game soundtracks. I'd mentioned Tiberium's Sun because I usually listen to that soundtrack when I work on things. We spoke a little more and I told her about Red Alert 2 and she went to go look those games up because she wasn't familiar. If I can let down the veil a little bit, I get incredibly anxious when I'm talking to people about stuff I love in case I'm annoying them. YouTube is kind of my outlet for this kind of thing, but like, even then, the anxiety runs pretty rampant. So for my friend to say that she was going to look it up and find out about it was huge. Anyways, she turned back around to me and hit me with the classic, "Oh, that's why I didn't know them. I wasn't born when Tiberium's Sun came out, and I was just a baby when Red Alert 2 came out." Which, left me a little like this. Look, I'm sorry babes, but I'm gonna be hitting you with the sands of time. There hasn't been a good official Command & Conquer in like 17 years, so to those of you who've been there since the beginning, don't forget to do your stretches and look after your bones. And make sure you go to bed at a reasonable hour. But please also come back and watch the video because I worked pretty hard on this and still a fair bit of runtime to go, and I really hope you enjoy it. I even put the Jacko stretch in here for you. What more do you want? So, Command & Conquer is a real-time strategy series by Westwood Studios that started way back in the far-flung future year of 1995 with the release of, well, Command & Conquer. C&C wasn't the only thing Westwood were producing, however, as they were also making RTS games based on Dune, like Dune 2000, as well as point-and-click adventures like The Legend of Corandia, and also one of their best games, and just one of the best in the genre of all time, Blade Runner, which, if you love Blade Runner as much as I do, you should be playing this one. But the first Command & Conquer wouldn't be where myself and my brothers would be joining the train. We'd actually get on a little later, but real-time strategy games and tactics games were definitely a thing in my house. We played the original Warcraft games, UFO Enemy Unknown, and also Warhammer Shadow of the Horned Rat. Did I know what was going on? No. Did I think it was cool? Babe, this game had rats in it. I fucking love rats. I myself started getting into RTSs with the game Total Annihilation, a game with an awesome premise, an excellent intro that's burned into my head, and I also got into StarCraft as well. And look, I say this as someone who has no love for Blizzard and nothing but hate for StarCraft 2. That first game and Brood War? Pretty fucking good. Because sometimes a girl will look at Zeratul and be like, I sure hope this doesn't awaken anything regards my expectations in men, primarily hiding their lower jaw and having ghost blades. It's a very specific want, but you cannot deny the raw sexual appeal of Raziel. Anyways, these games remained pretty comfortably in my rotation, along with other demos I'd get here and there from demo discs, until one day, one of my brother's friends came over and introduced us to a little game called Command & Conquer Red Alert. Everything in the game blew my mind, and even the stuff before it did too, like that installer, that configuration screen, and also, like, these were cutscenes with video and filmed actors, and the music? Is that Hitler? Hitler's here? And now he's dead because of Albert Einstein, and now we're in an alternate history World War II? And the Germans lead the Allied front with Greece, and America decided to send the coolest woman alive as well? And hang on, if I choose to play as the Soviets, is that Stalin giving me mission briefings? The Cold War has seemingly hit the ultimate extreme, and hold the fuck up. Who's that bald guy? Is that Kane? Hi.
Comrade Chairman, I am the future.
Gorbachev, put down that slice, you stupid fuck. We've got the West to liberate. There was nothing like this, and there isn't really anything like it anymore. Oh, and before you say Tempest Rising, yes, I know, and I don't care. Anyways, we got into Red Alert pretty hard, so I was looking forward to what I thought was going to be the sequel to Red Alert, Command & Conquer Tiberian Sun. I'd read about it in PC Gamer, and by read, I mean I saw pictures. I was like 6 years old, okay? And well, it is a sequel. Kind of. Not really. You still command, and you still conquer. But this is a new battlefield, in a new timeline. Except, like, not really, because Kane is here in Red Alert, but that takes place during World War II, and the First Siberian War wasn't for a long time. So that kind of implies that these games are linked in some way. But then you also need to think about the future Red Alert games where he's not there. And then you also need to remember the fact that the future Red Alert games also feature time machine. And also, we can't forget about the ants. Oh, and also the fact that there were aliens in one of the future games. Okay, this is relatively easy to explain. Westwood developed Command & Conquer as two running series. There's Red Alert, which focuses on the alternative history World War II and beyond, with the war between the Soviets and the Allies. And the other series, which I'm going to call the Tiberium Timeline. Or maybe the Tiberian Timeline, because they have very similar mouthfeel and I'm bound to fuck it up. These games feature the GDI and the Brotherhood of Nod fighting over a dying Earth. There's also a third series, which is actually hilariously relevant, which we will get to, and that game is also kind of a banger, but it's also, it is, very mid-2000s. Anyways, we focus a fair bit on Red Alert because that was my first game in this series. So let me give you a quick primer on the Tiberium series, considering that is where Renegade takes place. So sometime in the 1990s, a meteorite containing the substance that would later be called Tiberium came crashing down to Earth. A terrorist faction called the Brotherhood of Nod, led by a mysterious leader known only as Kane, began sparking chaos throughout the world in order to get their hands on the substance. Their core tenets involve the worship of Tiberium, and of Kane, who he himself is an enigma. There are so many theories about this guy. You know, is he Kane? No, not the shithead mayor of Knoxville County. Like, Bible Kane. Is he perhaps an alien? Why is he so handsome? In order to counteract the growing threat of Nod, the GDI was formed. The, God damn it, where are my notes? Oh, yes, of course, the Global Defense Initiative. I'd like to say there's interesting lore, but, they have a big laser. They're kind of your de facto good guys in that, well, boo, massive military police state. But also, yay, not gonna mutate me with Tiberium. Their plotlines are actually really cool though. I love their story in Tiberian Sun, and Tiberium Wars had a very interesting GDI plotline, but yeah. I kind of hit the realization that from Tiberian Sun onwards, the thing that would probably interest you in the GDI, other than the honestly pretty rad unit roster, is the casting in their cutscenes. I mean, they had Michael Biehn and James L. Jones in Tiberian Sun, whilst the Brotherhood had Frank Zagarino for, you know, all those Project Shadow Chaser heads.
Sir, it's an honor to have you back.
Traitor.
And Joe Kukin, or Kukin as Kane. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name, but you are amazing. He's amazing as Kane because, well, he is Kane. Minus the mutating people and being a terrorist, though, I would imagine. Please... Okay, so before this falls into a massive man isn't Joe Kukin really cool kind of hole, Let me explain the vibe of both of these games. As you can probably guess, Red Alert is the little more wild series, which goes a little all out with absolutely bananas concepts and ideas, going all in on like really funny military conspiracy stuff. Like imagine the idea of Soviet squids versus American dolphins. While it started off honestly still a little silly, someone literally plays Stalin if you play as the Soviets, it kinda got sillier over time when it started involving Udo Kier as a psychic commander, Leland from Twin Peaks, and of course more Tanya, who is still the coolest woman alive, until we eventually get to Red Alert 3. Red Alert 3 featured George Takei as the Emperor of the Rising Sun, J.K. Simmons as a war-hungry American president, which
none of you have the guts to do what needs to be done, so I'm gonna wipe those Soviets off this earth myself. And you can't stop me!
And of course, you all know this because you've all seen the clip.
Space!
It features Tim Curry as the premier commandant of Russia, who resets the war clock of Red Alert 2 by traveling back in time with Peter fucking Stormare, who has a time machine, as we established earlier.
Time machine.
Oh, also it did an expansion which featured Ric Flair, and he fights a bear and then starts harassing this poor girl who's working the desk at the gym. Like, fuck off, you mummy-skinned sleazebag. I mean, when I saw these trailers, I was cheering the bear. I mean, get a load of this cutie. Oh, and also the game was filled with absolutely loads of conventionally beautiful women. Oh, and a TERF who probably got punched in the head one too many times. If I had a penny for every time one of my favorite game series got infiltrated by a TERF, to my knowledge, I would have 2 pennies. The depressing thing is, I'd maybe have more, potentially enough to afford my rent, and that fucking sucks. Anyways, Red Alert really leans into the cheesy summer blockbuster vibes, and you can actually kind of track how far the shark jumps by comparing it to Saints Row, because they have very similar trajectories. Meanwhile, the Tiberium timeline felt a lot more grounded. Every time the stakes rose, even when they felt ridiculous, it was played incredibly straight-faced. The best way I can think to describe it is, it kind of felt like playing a sci-fi show. You had the combination of blue screen and a few very beautifully constructed sets, and actors you know and recognize because they were in that other sci-fi thing, or like another big show from around that time. We saw some of Tiberium Sun's actors before, and Renegade has some really fun casting, with Wally Wingert as Havoc, Roger Bumpass as Ravishore, and motherfucking Odo plays Ignacio Mobius, which, he's hardly in this game, and you're utilizing René Auberjonois for that only? Really? Also, the voice actor for Locke is the voice actor for Jiraiya from Naruto, so just imagine him as a rampaging pervert. How scandalous. This really ramps up with Command & Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars, because that game had Michael Ironside, Billy D. Williams, Jennifer Morrison, and Trisha Helfer.
And Zendaya is Michi.
But despite these tonal differences, Westwood's key real-time strategy series to this point featured a few key shared parts. Namely, they had incredible soundtracks, fast, hard-hitting strategy, excellent FMV cutscenes which melded CG and real-life actors, and gorgeous sprite work. This was also present in the Dune games, which I really want to play more of. I only had Dune 2000 in French because I bought the game when I was on holiday in France, which, well, I guess that tracks, doesn't it? Although saying that, I did buy Oni one time when I was on holiday in Poland, and that game was entirely in English. I have no idea what gravitated me towards that game though. Not in the slightest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyways, enough getting sidetracked by cute Motoko Kusanagi alternatives. The cutscenes in Dune, just like the cutscenes in Command & Conquer Red Alert and Command & Conquer Regular, ruled. And I still need to play Emperor Battle for Dune. But if I can go back to that point about sprite work, Command & Conquer as a series to this point had only been seen as a 2D isometric sprite-based real-time strategy. And that was about to change. So around the turn of a millennium, we started to see real-time strategy games start moving towards 3D as opposed to just sprites. Games like Total Annihilation, as mentioned before, were kind of early adopters in a way, but we started seeing titles like Homeworld, Shogun Total War, and then in later years games like Dawn of War. Even Warcraft had entered the third dimension. There were even some games which were a little weird, like Machines and Lego Rock Raiders. Which, by the way, what a game! I watched my friend play it and now I have an energy crystal has been found, stuck in my head, and it's going to remain there the entire time. Right next to Slimy Slug! Anyways, they were doing even more weird experimental things in these games, like letting you control individual guys as if it was a first-person shooter, which, that is wild. Meanwhile, in 1997, Westwood were also experimenting with bringing Command & Conquer into the third dimension. But this wouldn't be Command & Conquer Renegade. This was Command & Conquer Commando. We've actually seen a few tech demos and the like appear from this, especially since Renegade became open source at the start of 2025, and there's something so charming to all these old tech demos. Just like this video with C&C music and random Commando voice lines spliced over the footage.
Keep them coming!
It is art. It also feels a bit like you're watching the Californication music video, which I mean, that's preem. This wouldn't be the first time Westwood had developed games in 3D, mind you. They'd done racing games beforehand and look, okay, I feel like the development and the technologies used for Blade Runner is still up for contention in amongst some of the people who actually worked on the game, so I'm a little scared to comment on those. But we would be getting a spate of new 3D titles from Westwood, namely the games Earth and Beyond, Pirates: The Legend of Black Cat, and Renegade. Now, I refuse to speak for Black Cat. After all, she is a pirate legend on the hunt for booty, and what can I say? We respect a like-minded queen. So, she can speak for herself, but Earth and Beyond and Renegade were built on Westwood 3D, as opposed to the usual engines you'd be seeing at the time. You know, your id Tech 3s or your Unreals. This I wanted to bring up because I thought it was pretty cool, as this would actually be the base work for the engine called Sage, which is the engine used for Command & Conquer 3 Tiberium Wars, Red Alert 3, The Battle for Middle-earth, and Command & Conquer Generals. That surprise third series I'd mentioned before, and a game that as well I mentioned does kind of rip, but also is
Why is the scent of post-9/11 military jingoism
in this cap? I can explain that. See, it used to be
a fun modern warfare real-time strategy game.
and, well,
America's ongoing military actions.
makes fools of us all.
Now listen, you filthy pig. No one can know about us. If anyone asks, I'll deny it.
Just like every other girl I've dated.
Anyways, Renegade was announced in 1999, with plans to release in 2000, and I was really, really excited. And I remember seeing everything that was being released in mags at the time about this game, and like, we'd be entering the iconic buildings from the games, we'd be manning the vehicles like Flame and Mammoth tanks, and we'd be fighting back against Kane's regime as the iconic unit. This truly was the explosive new action series in the Command & Conquer universe. I'm really sorry, I love this freeze frame so much. Imagine if a trailer nowadays ended like this, that would fucking rule. However, the game didn't release in 2000, so Havoc had to give him a little visit.
Time to rock and roll. Design your way out of that, little girl.
As hilarious and very much of a time as this video is, Renegade got delayed again, so I wonder who he force-femmed in the office this time.
Suit up, soldier! Next time it'll be a bomb.
Okay, so time for another history lesson. During the development of Renegade, first-person shooters kind of underwent another renaissance, as was the style at the time. You see, the Xbox had released, and with it there was this game, I've forgotten the name of it. There was like a green dude and a cute blue cyberwoman who I had that kind of crush on who you didn't know if you wanted to be or be with.
Boy, I wonder what the answer to that one is now, huh?
Yeah, so Halo kind of happened and then shifted the perception on what a first-person shooter can and should be because, well, it was historic. The seamless vehicle mounting, the fast-paced yet varied action, this felt like what people were expecting now. Not me around this time though, I was still playing Half-Life and Unreal Tournament 99 on PC because, well, that shit ripped. And later on, I would be playing Time Splitters 2 and Soul Calibur 2 on GameCube because, well, who needs an Xbox with Spawn when you can have a GameCube with Cassandra? Oh yeah, and Link. Link was the bonus character. You knew I was going to bring up Soul Calibur eventually. But yes, this slip in release date definitely impacted Renegade. While the game featured vehicles, interior and exterior travel, and pretty sizable levels, just like Halo, the proximity in their releases to me just makes this look like an unfortunate release timing. A bit like Sin and Half-Life. I still find it wild that that happened twice. If Hades 2 and Mortal Kombat 11 taught me anything, it's that Kronos is a bitch. However, congratulations on your transition, babe. If you wanted to compare Renegade to a game that felt more apt, however, I think realistically you should be looking at Red Faction. This does, however, mean I would be talking to people who have actually played Red Faction. Which, I mean, there must be, right? There's a whole series that I'd love to cover on my channel one day, but no one I've ever really spoken to mentions Red Faction outside of Guerrilla. Which, I mean, understandable, but also, that first game had Geomod. Geomod! You can blow up the walls and stuff! But, Red Faction is a game for another time. I really need to start talking about Renegade, because it's starting to look like I'm just running from it, right? Like, God, it really does look like I'm running from it. Let's start talking about Renegade. So, finally releasing on the 26th of Feb 2002, a late birthday present for me, Renegade came out on PC CD-ROM. And this is important, this will actually come up later. And it has one hell of an intro, with our boy rocking up to a Nod bass before stopping to check out a Windows Media Player visualizer. Strange military tactic, but hey, Frank Klopaki's back on the music, so I can't blame him. However, we do miss a cool intro which sadly got cut that apes the original trailer. Would it mess with the storyline pacing of the game? Maybe. Would that actually matter? Let's find out together. For those of you wondering the technical deets, by the way, I am running this through TIBERIUM Technologies. It's been way too long since I last played this game pure vanilla. Like, it was 2002. Also, I'm playing the game on easy. Whilst I don't really need to explain anything to you, trust me when I say this will make sense. Also, I played this game on stream and completed it on medium, so my gamer's badge is in the mail. The opening 3 missions of Command & Conquer Renegade kinda perfectly sum up the Command & Conquer Renegade experience, so I'm going to be covering those in a bit more depth, and then we'll kind of breeze through the rest of the game to address story, tone, highs and lows, all that kind of jazz. But first, we need to go back to the beginning. We need to start off with the Scorpion Hunters. Renegade actually starts pretty close to the mark as to how some Command & Conquer games actually begin. We're back in the first Tiberium War, around the tail end of it, so nothing from Tiberian Sun just yet. We have our boys in the GDI investigating reports of a nearby Nod base, with no real signs of their presence, until, in true Nod fashion, oh my god, who saw this coming? Okay, silly mocking aside, this opening is actually pretty cool. It does a really good job of making you feel like a massive deal. I mean, like, you're the commando. You're the guy. You're the one-man army who helps repel this entire ambush from the Nod forces, which, holy shit, the Brotherhood must be producing these soldiers like the fucking red shirts from Mighty Morphin, because there's so goddamn many of them. Kane and Rita Repulsa? The GDI don't stand a fucking chance. Anyways, after getting a taste for the on-foot combat, eventually you're gifted a tank to have a little roll around in. So you have a little drive, blow up a harvester, you blow up a lot of things actually. And would you believe it? Just around the corner, there's a whole Nod base with an obelisk, which, okay, honestly, I'm surprised nobody guessed beforehand, because obelisks have a crazy high power need, and also they make this terrifying noise that is ingrained in my head, so... Surely someone knew that this was here already, like, I fear this massive bastard. Big style. And mentioning big, not about my butt this time, I promise. This was a big deal. This was my first time seeing these buildings from the scale of a soldier, and it's pretty cool seeing this massive Nod base, and then seeing it get decimated by an ion cannon, with honestly a pretty slick transition into the mission end and the first proper reveal of our boy, Captain Nick Havoc Parker, who, he's looking different from the last time we saw him. And this to me is an ideal first mission. It introduces you to our character, it introduces you to the setting, it's short, it's sweet, and it's action-packed. It feels like if you were to distill Command & Conquer into a roller coaster ride. Like they did with Fast and Furious with tall Vin Diesel, or that attempted Street Fighter ride where Ryu and Ken blast off M. Bison's dick. Is that what bomb surgery looks like? But look, it doesn't matter if you're a newcomer to the Tiberium conflict or a seasoned veteran. You know where you stand now. You're the guy, the hero, the grizzled vet, the big machismo, and you got a present for them. But the more philosophical of us may be wondering, who is Captain Nick Big Dick King of War Havoc Parker? And well, we're about to find out.
Where's my medal?
I'm a Brigadier General Havoc. The least you can do is call me Sir.
You got it, sir.
So, Nick Big Dick Demo Dick. Wait, hold up. That's a different guy, and also a different game. Seymour! Master of War, god damn it, Parker is our boy. Like I said before, he's looking a little different from those trailers we saw before. Primarily like he's eaten a few steaks, and the guy from that trailer, and then lifted more weights. But this is a guy you've definitely seen before. Not the guy from the trailer though. His name's actually Logan and he's in the tutorial, and I think it's really cute that he's still in the game. But yeah, you've definitely seen this character before because Renegade takes a lot of its cues from classic action movie cinema. If you've seen anything from like the early 80s into the mid 90s, you know Havoc. He's Action Man, he's Commando, he's Urada Ash's motherfucker, he's the combination soup of Cannon's action movie output, sadly no break-in, and he's also Goldberg in Universal Soldier 2. I explicitly say Goldberg because he's a big meathead who's also an idiot.
Luke Devereaux. Minimal damage.
If you have seen any action movie in which the main character is a massive meathead who thinks with his biceps and works alone, but actually is part of a team, and also partakes in the occasional, I don't get little girls, or women, only for him to be continuously upstaged by the female characters of this game, then, well, you know Havoc, and honestly, this works. Hey hi, Editor K here, now with brand new art presenting a stylized version of myself taking a break whilst editing. Do I actually look this cute whilst I'm working? I kinda hope so, but for real, if you know where to find a pullover like this one, please let me know. I've really fallen into the half baggy, half tight Euphoria sweet spot lately and, wait, shit, yeah, I'm supposed to be talking about Renegade. I actually do have a point here. So I actually found out even more about Havoc by using the Wayback Machine and going onto Renegade's old website. Once again, we blow a kiss in the direction of Internet Archive. You babes are fantastic and we will protect you as best we can. Anyway, Havoc's action movie roots run even deeper. So in terms of his background, it turns out that he was a trouble kid from Pennsylvania who loved making explosives and getting into fistfights. And you know who loves trouble kids who love fighting.
Here, buddy, it's all yours. Wow!
So Havoc gets plucked from his hometown by the USMC, and then he served during Operation Desert Storm, which confirms that happened during the Tiberium timeline. Yeah, so he was in a special forces team, and apparently he turned out to be a sizable PR disaster for the USMC.
How exactly can you be a PR disaster for the US Marines? They've done some pretty heinous shit.
Yeah, so whatever that means, it caused the Marines to eventually hand him off towards the GDI. This was back when the GDI was a fledgling organization. In the GDI, he got placed into a new team, the one I kinda just implied. They're called the Dead Six, named as such because, and I didn't know this, they're officially dead, so their wet work can be brushed under the rug because, you know, they're dead. Their operations never happened. However, during the Egypt campaign, which I think was Mission 2 of Nod in Tiberian Dawn, the timelines may well match up for that, Havoc somehow got dismissed from the "you're dead so you can't cause us issues" team. Like, Havoc, what the fuck did you do?
Havoc, you're literally dead. You can get away with doing whatever you want. Like, you must have fucked up big time.
So yeah, he's even more action movie than we thought because not only is he an action hero, he also, like most action heroes of that time, has a dark skeleton in his closet. But anyways, enough from me. Back to the video, sweetheart, and you'll be seeing me again real soon, okay? The supporting cast as well are kind of in the same boat, in that they're all stereotypes. So far, we've only met General Locke, who is your classic, "Damn, Havoc, we have to do this by the book. But also, you're a renegade and cool and handsome. I think you have very kissable lips as well, and..." Didn't I tell you I'd be back, babe? Anyways, this originally was going to be a joke about me finding a fic about Locke and Havoc, locking tongs, if you will. And I actually did find an entry for Renegade on AO3. It features Papa Roach's classic She Loves Me Not, and was made in the year of your godex, 2024. I fucking love the internet sometimes. If you're the person who made this, by the way, and you're somehow watching my video, I want you to know that I love this video you've made very, very genuinely. I want you to continue having fun editing things. I started way back in the day with editing ragdolls flying around in Gmod to Sonne by Rammstein. Like, it is your godex given right to remain silly, babe. Cringe is dead, and I smothered it with my fat ass. Anyways, back to the video. So there's another thing you've probably noticed about Command & Conquer Renegade, and it's that all the cutscenes look like this. No live action actors, all 3D models. And also, yeah, they kind of run a little weird, like they've all dropped frames. I do actually have a theory on that, and I think it's mainly due to the fact that it's on CD-ROM. The game came across 2 of them, but this game does feature a lot of cutscenes in it. Some of these cutscenes actually exist as external renders, and they run perfectly smoothly. And I mean, even with the original live-action FMV cutscenes in Red Alert and Tiberian Sun, they did kind of suffer a similar-ish fate, and it'd be a while until we'd start moving to embrace DVD-ROM. I can't vouch for this fully, as I have no real experience working on creating video game cutscenes or physical media. I only worked on making videos for different companies' YouTube channels, but compression can be an utterly wild battle. And let's be honest, there are more important things you need to fit on the disc. Being a video editor and wondering what you can sacrifice in terms of quality is such a heartbreaker. Remember when Blue Sky started video posts back in the day, but you could only have 50 megabytes per video? Like, that's absurd. Hate to utilize a trucking term, but better call my ass a wide load, because it sure as shit ain't fitting in that file size. I mean, come on, Blue Sky, how exactly am I supposed to entice people to watch my videos now? With my funny writing and cute demeanor? I mean, I hope that's why you're here. Anyway, back to the narrative, and sadly, Havoc will not be getting his medal today, as it turns out that the Brotherhood are kidnapping and rounding up civilians and POWs for re-education. Read brainwashing, and failing that, they will be executing them. But oh no! The GDI already tried to mobilize before and failed, and it's going to take them a few hours to actually get back into the fight. But that'll be too late. But don't worry, don't forget, Havoc is a renegade. So that means he takes matters into his own hands, much to Locke's chagrin. And after what is, genuinely, one of the best fucking transitions I have ever seen in a piece of media, it is up there with the House of Gucci sad horn. Yes, I am incredibly passionate about transitions and transitioning. Yes, I am aware that that is quite funny. We're into our second proper mission, Rescue and Retribution. If the Scorpion Hunters was the roller coaster ride, giving you a condensed blast of pure action movie silly, Rescue and Retribution is more of a, here's the starter for what you're going to be doing in Renegade. While you have your primary mission objective, which in this case is head to the communications center and free the civvies, you'll be given additional tasks in field, like destroy the Nod Harvester to cripple their funds, blow up turrets on the embankment, rescue civilian hostages, or destroy certain buildings to try and make life easier for yourself. Completing these does reward you, with things ranging from vehicles or permanent health and armor upgrades, to health and armor pickups for the weapons you spent completing those objectives. We'll get back to this. The freedom this mission offers in comparison to the previous is actually exciting though. There's hidden paths to secrets, alternate paths into objectives, and while ultimately you're ending up in the same places, the illusion of choice it offers is actually kind of fun. I mean, I could sneak around, but I'm always going to choose the big tank. After all, I'm a simple girl with heavy mechanical needs. You'll be doing this whilst just mowing down a seemingly endless onslaught of soldiers with weapons ranging from your trusty assault rifle and rocket launcher, which is this game's workhorse. Surprisingly, there isn't a shotgun, that's only in multiplayer, which we will get to, I promise. And you also get to use weapons like flamethrowers, which I don't know if this is a problem with the version I'm playing, but it's kind of an accidental effort cannon. I love this so much, it's really silly. And like, this is fine, but we will get back to this. The main thing I took away from this mission playing it again, however, is just, I think they handled playing a commando from Command & Conquer in a first-person shooter really well in terms of translating the abilities from the RTS into the field. You do eventually get your hands on a sniper rifle, which is a genuinely devastating weapon despite its slow rate of fire. It's not silenced though, so I will be docking points. Also, just for the nature of the game, vehicles are a little less of a problem for you considering you're basically a walking armory. You get so many weapons in this game. But one thing I will say is, I love how they've adapted commandos destroying buildings. Like, okay, I feel like I keep going on about how cool it was to be able to enter buildings like the Hand of Nod or power stations and communication centers, and I get that it might feel like I'm repeating myself, but this was actually very cool. The fact that you gotta run in, find the master control terminal, and then bomb it with C4 feels like an appropriate fleshing out of, well, this.
I've got a present for you.
The buildings might not topple, but I mean, given the limitations of the time, that makes sense. This is actually a really cool way of representing it. And even better is, the first major building you're most likely to do this to is the Hand of Nod, which is a really neat touch. It's one of the Brotherhood's most common, yet most fascinating structures, because inside the building shows a combination of rigorous physical training and mental reconditioning to the core tenets of the Brotherhood. They aren't just training soldiers in this building, they're making zealots. I mean, look, they've even converted the Swedish chef.
You want to be court-martialed, Havoc?
You don't even really need to explore this building that much for first time round, because the master control terminal is really easy to find. And if you want, you can just ion cannon this building. You get super weapons very, very early in this game. But at the same time, the environmental design of this place makes me want to explore it because, like most things in Renegade at the moment, this is really cool. But say it with me, we will get back to this. So eventually you continue your one-man rampage and you end up at the communication center, ready to extract the data, blow it up, and save the civilians in, you know, traditional standard action movie fare. But there is one pretty neat thing that does happen in the communication center. It's a cameo from the handsome lad himself, Kane.
Oh, we all like a bad boy though, don't we?
Yeah, not a fucking terrorist, though, Chris.
Sadly, Kane isn't the main villain for this game, which does make sense. This is the first Tiberium War. He is currently Shepard and Solomon's problem. But it does make me a little sad because, like, he's the villain, you know? Kane's cerebral yet brutal cunning feels like he could be the perfect counter to Havoc's "I'm a sentient tricep, and I'm going to kill you" nature. But sadly, not this time. No, instead we get a new set of villains from within the Black Hand. A set of villains who are, well, let's meet them, shall we? Mission 3, Armored Assault, is important for two major reasons, and is also going to be the point where you're like, yeah, I'm in it for the long haul, I want to see where this game goes. Or the point where you, die. Okay, you probably don't die, but, like, you'll see. It is, however, where the narrative for Renegade begins. We've been introduced to the conflict and some of our key players. It's high time we learn the angle. So Havoc's former team, the Dead Six, which I guess is his former team, and there's also only 4 of them now anyway, captured footage of the Black Hand kidnapping several key Tiberium scientists from a GDI base as opposed to, intervening, but it's an action movie, so we let that slide. They've taken Ignacio Mobius, who has aged from looking like a germ a bit into an old man in what feels like no time whatsoever, his daughter, Sydney Mobius, and Elena Petrova, a character who, so far, we've only met in training. She's been in no other Command & Conquer game before, and she is a character that I can best describe as a character. Our culprits? Well, we've got
Mendoza!
Lil Man Ravishore. Yeah, Havoc loves mentioning how small Ravishore is.
Pee-wee and I have already met.
And last but not least, Sakura. Mercenary, former member of the Dead Six, and Havoc's ex-partner. This information, however, does certainly lead into a line of all time that is certainly in an action game.
As long as there isn't any conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest? No. I got interest in conflict.
He thinks he's really cool, and I have never been more bone dry in my entire life. The laugh will relatively end quickly though, because, well, eventually you start playing Armored Assault, a mission that the game itself warns you is a long one, and they are not lying. The mission itself is as relatively simple as the missions before it. It's a straight point A to point B mission. Get to the Hand of Nod where the scientists are being held, but the road is long, and, well, it starts to hit you with Renegade's flaws the longer you're exposed to it. A lot of your time in Armored Assault's first half, as you can probably guess from the title, involves you driving tanks or other armored vehicles like Humvees, whilst also dealing with tanks and vehicles yourself. And sure enough, you turn the first corner and you're already dealing with a helicopter, and you get a secondary objective to deal with the helipad. And your prize for this is another Humvee. Once you get down the hill, there's secondary objectives to clear buildings of Nod forces. Now, these objectives will only trigger as a success if you actively head into the buildings, which by itself is kinda tedious, and it's also not where the troops are, because they're outside. However, dealing with the forces gives you reinforcements, which I never saw, and the Nod troops stop infinitely respawning, which the Nod troops won't feel like they infinitely respawn because the officers are dead, and, well, later on officers just start replacing regular foot soldiers, and, it starts making it feel like they infinitely respawn, and, well, you kind of realize that these secondary objectives are starting to feel more like primary objectives. Anyways, I digress. You continue the search for the scientists, and then you reach something that feels like it should be a massive deal. You get to drive what is, at this point during the Tiberium War, a GDI superweapon, the Mammoth Tank, a super heavy tank with 2 exceptionally powerful cannons, ideal for fighting opposing armor. So naturally, you are not fighting any armor, you are fighting like 3 guys with rocket launchers you can't sufficiently hit, in buildings you can't destroy, and you're also dealing with continuous Nod helicopters spawning in the putty ninja soldiers, and your tank is just taking a beating. The Mammoth isn't made to deal with this, and while you might be like, but Kay, you could just get out of the tank and snipe those soldiers, that just feels counterproductive as to what this encounter should be, right? It's like the game has basically said, hey, we've given you this machine. It's called the Worldfucker 9000. You can use it to fuck the world. However, there is a few guys over there with rocket launchers, and they're shooting the Worldfucker with it, and it does not like it. So, here's a sniper rifle, kill them. The engineer who's supposed to keep your tank repaired and alive didn't actually take cover behind the tank and just got killed immediately, because, well, they use the same AI as the forces you're killing, so that's a shame. But hey, at least I get a medium tank for my worries. It's very don't forget Turbo Man's faithful companion Booster. Man, fuck Booster. Why'd you make a joke like that, Booster? Hey, hi. Future K here, back with a quick little thing I wanted to add on to the end of this part. I actually went back to replay Armored Assault. I know, right? She's so brave. I wanted to see if the Mammoth Tank part was as bad as I remember because I captured all the footage for this game back in July. Hey, look, bad mental health and ramping work will do that to a girl, and this section of Armored Assault is still not good. When I initially played through this part, I'd forgotten about the Mammoth's secondary fire, a relatively quicker missile pod. Do they make this situation with the distant guys easier? No! I still had to get out the tank and kill them. It was a mess. But I did keep my Mammoth for longer, which actually just made me notice another problem with this game even harder. Look, we'll get there eventually. Knowing me, I'll have text on screen to link back to this. You know what I'm like these days. Also, just to slap this one in the butt right now, I know the term is nip in the butt, but you know, funny girl, big butt, waka waka. I know the tank's health regenerates, but if you think I'm sticking around for that in the longest mission in the game, then I don't know what to tell you, bud. My previous video was on racing games. That should tell you all you need to know. But yeah, even if you keep the Mammoth tank alive during this section, it's still not good. Let's find out why together, huh? But anyways, the mission just continues like this. Get tank, do objective, tank probably gets destroyed midway through the objective because it's not really designed for the objective it's doing. Complete objective, get new tank. All whilst you're just being flooded with Nod soldiers. This eventually hits ahead when you get to the dam, which is currently being turned into a killing floor by a nearby obelisk. And the game tasks you with finding a nearby power station to destroy and cut the power, as a secondary objective. Yeah, the actual main objective here is I need to enter the dam and destroy the lock so I can go through this big Nod gate at the end. I can think of another big issue which may well stop me getting through that massive gate, and it's something to do with a gigantic obelisk of light which will fry me the second I try and cross the bridge. I don't think that's a very secondary objective, and well, if it didn't hit before, it hits now, that one of Renegade's biggest issues is the maps themselves. They are, in most missions, frankly huge, incredibly bland, and Havoc is not very quick. The pacing is just a little poor, and they try and make the pacing feel more exciting by just flooding more soldiers in your direction, which that doesn't work. Right, anyways, power station decommissioned, obelisk dead. Let's drive our tank across the dam just to immediately disembark it and go for a slog through some tunnels. And it's at this point you'd probably be like, when does this mission end? Because I would have personally ended it at the obelisk, but even then, that still feels a little egregious. Luckily, we are very nearly there. We just have one pretty cool scene in a big cave covered in Tiberium where a Tiberium meteorite fell in, where we fight a helicopter. Oh, and also the fart gas sprayers are here now, where we get the game's questionable weapon and unlock the capacity to spray people with pure Tiberium.
Are we the baddies?
Eventually, you hit the hand of Nod where the scientists are, and, well, this game kind of reminds me why I love it again.
Looking good. You're so dead. Oops.
Okay, let me don my director's hat and let's pass what's going on here. So Havoc has found the scientists and they're being moved out. He's got the chance to kill Ravishore right now, but doesn't take it. Could be to keep the scientists safe, could be for action movie pacing. We take either or. Whilst scoping out the area, he sees Sakura, his ex, and then fully zooms in on her ass, which, like, okay, I don't know what's going on with her uniform, but, like, it's kind of hot in two ways. But anyway, he zooms out a little bit, and then we see Mendoza just kind of fondle Sakura's butt. I think it's a little hard to tell, they all have mitts for hands. But he gets so fucking mad that he just shoots and kills some random Nod soldier. Cinematic gold, and the hits, babe, do not stop coming.
Hello, Nikki.
Miss me?
Not at this range.
Still pissed?
Nah, but I do have to kill you. Part of the job, you know.
Getting sloppy. Looking good, though.
You've got a GDI commando in your hold. He's armed and extremely dangerous. This is Black Widow. Do not engage GDI commando.
Black Widow? They eat their mates. Perfect. Yep, she's pissed. Real pissed.
It's from here on out that, well, the plot erupts, which is very funny because that's coincidentally the name of the next chapter. But also, the game's kind of shown you what it has to offer, save for a few other things we'll cover. The game has its fair share of issues, as you can probably tell. And the sad thing is, it does compound on them. But there's a lot here I genuinely admire. So, want to join me on a quick little roundup? So, everything I've said about Renegade basically being an action movie still rings true. The cutscenes still feed into the big, silly action blockbuster feel, as do some of the missions in theory. Like I said, we were just landing onto a volcano, and you better believe we're somehow gonna set that sucker off after a mini boss fight with Sakura, who, she was the best character in this game. It's from here on out that the game's missions are separated into different operations, really, that we can breeze through pretty quickly. These operations begin with the ending of the we're bad at our job arc, and then move on to saving Sydney, saving Mobius, and saving, Sydney again. It's an action movie. Let's call it something like Revenge Edition or something. So after we erupted Sakura into a volcano, rest in peace, we love you babe, we stow away into the final mission of the Havoc fucked it up so badly because some guy touched his ex-girlfriend's ass arc. Hilariously, it's called Stowaway.
It's one of those new subs. Impressive. Are they armed?
This one is.
Well, it's here that Renegade hits us with one of its final tricks that it does not do a good job of pulling off. The design of this level is properly labyrinthine, and yet there's no Minotaurs, so what even is the point? Just new, more advanced enemies in a level that's a pain to travel through. The map and compass weren't designed to deal with a multi-floor map. It just becomes a mess of keycards and lifts taking you to different places. What is cool in this mission, however, is we get introduced to the TIBERIUM experiments. They're part of some project Kane has planned. I've forgotten the name of it. It's like Project Rejuvenation or Revitalization or Resurrection or something. Have you ever heard of a sci-fi scientist who's a bad guy in a movie who has some kind of plot about evolving people? It's one of those names.
The Black Hand's Regenesis project is based upon my research.
There's men in these tubes who have been potentially ascended, or at least in a little experiment towards this. But that's not important right now because you see Havoc's gotta do his classic, "My boys are in trouble! I've got to let them out!" And get them out he does. Eventually, this place is a fucking maze. This cutscene, however, is burnt into my head because it was in one of the trailers and I actually think it's a really well choreographed scene. I think it's pretty fun. Command & Conquer has a lot to answer for me getting into media and wanting to get into making videos and stuff. I was never interested in TV and film. I've always been interested in crafting video game cutscenes. So there you go. There's a nice little K tidbit for you. Anyways, from here we enter the Saving Sydney arc, which naturally starts with Havoc getting chewed out by Locke. Not like that. It's never like that. and then learning from the information that the scientists are in Ravishaw's big mansion.
Big house for such a little man.
Yeah, there's the expected height joke. For this mission, Locke has called in the Dead Six, even though there's only officially 4 of them. Naturally, Havoc hates this because he's all like, I'm Havoc, I'm a lone wolf, I work alone. I need to stop doing that. I think this is actually the first time this is an accurate impression. Your Honor, the evidence for the court. This is probably where I got that sound from. We also get to hear a little bit of Gunnar from the Dead Six speaking, and, well, Renegade has certainly got the British gamut of voices covered.
Is that Havoc? Cheers, mate. How are you then?
That's affirmative, Gunnar. What's your ETA?
We should have a visual in... We're under fire here, General. Repeat, we are under fire.
Gunnar, come in.
After discovering that the Dead Six have been shot down, and an intro to our new war zone in which...
Real tough guy. Keep them coming.
Did Havoc literally just watch those people die so he could say a bad unrelated one-liner? Anyway, we hit this operation's main hook. Urban warfare. The streets are swarming with Nod, and there's small pockets of resistance here and there. But this is all about regrouping with the Dead Six, because, hey, we gotta see those playable multiplayer characters, right? And for those of you who are like, hey you, lady with the big butt, start talking about the multiplayer. I will. Eventually. I promise. Thanks for commenting on my butt though. The thing that does hit in this mission though is Havoc is literally just all of these characters except for Hotwire because she's an engineer. Because like all Havoc does, much like the other members of Dead Six, is, well, like renowned philosopher Fred Durst, break stuff. I will say though, the urban warfare works to Renegade's advantage. It works pretty well. Enemies are rushing you because, well, they're using the streets to do that. I will say though, you do get inundated with enemies that just kind of emerge from alleyways or the sky. It feels very Dragon Age 2. And at this point, you are fighting more than just regular foot soldiers. There are now Black Hand soldiers who are here with sniper rifles that are just as devastating as yours, and they are becoming increasingly common. They are just about tolerable on easy, but those secondary mission objectives, they're starting to look a lot more primary. Anyways, Havoc gets the band together and just tells them to do nothing, as is his wont, and
I'm going up the road.
I'll join you, Captain.
No.
Well, what are we supposed to do then, eh? Sit here and wait, twiddling our thumbs?
Call Locke. Have him send a limo.
A chimpanzee could do that, mate.
Yeah, but you'll do fine.
Havoc, you can't say that, man. That's fucked up. From here, we infiltrate Ravishaw's manor, which the loading screen seems to try and incentivize stealth, which, I will be disregarding. This is another one of those labyrinthine missions, and this one actually even has a garden maze, and, there's not much else to say about it. It just seems like the Nod soldiers are here just to have lovely, intimate moments in different bedrooms and stuff in this gorgeous chateau, and we ruined them. But hey, I hope that at least we flood AO3 with this stuff afterwards. Oh, and also the butlers adopt the Ginyu stance, so you know Kane's training them good. But, hell, we do eventually find the Mobiuses, and
Mobius.
Yes?
Yes?
Who are you?
Captain Nick Parker, GDI Special Forces Commando. Codename Havoc. Absurdly loyal to GDI. Huge problem with authority figures. Say goodnight, Nicky.
Oh, did you just punch her in the tit? Not cool, man. Not cool. So, Sakura's alive. Maybe. Who knows? And now she's been double-crossed by Ravishaw, and Ignacio and Petrova have been re-kidnapped again. But at least we have Sydney. That's nice. And well, it's time for our first proper boss fight. Mendoza, who, why is the camera focusing there? Anyways, slick moves, buddy. You might think the easy difficulty made him a pushover, but no, he was genuinely this easy on medium as well. Anyways, slightly awkward, but I can see what you're trying to do, so I respect that death cutscene aside. We break out with Sydney. So that's one scientist down. There is also another mission here, but not much really happens. You escape the city, Havoc learns that having a team is actually a really cool thing, so naturally they never come back. There's a nuke you don't actually get to see, but the best part is the ridiculous intro in which we learn that, well, Sydney is actually pretty funny.
You are not driving.
And she has a terrible taste in men.
Try not to shoot me in the butt.
Girl, there's nothing there. He's built like a pellet. Anyways, one Mobius down, another one to go. We have an inkling on whereabouts Ignacio Mobius may be, but the only way we can be sure is if Sydney goes with Havoc due to science-related plot-driving reasons. And well, that news goes down about as well as you think.
I should be able to pick them up with the Mobius suit's detection system.
Mobius suit?
Sydney's been working with GDI to create a powered armor combat suit.
I've got a working prototype up and running. I'm ready to go.
You're not going anywhere.
Only 2 people in the world know how to operate that prototype, Captain. My father and me.
Okay, fine. But I'm running the show.
Oh, I hate women. Oh. It's what he sounds like. With Havoc convinced he can run the operation himself because he's a big boy. Our heroes land and, well... So, you get captured, you have a cutscene that rivals Peep Show in terms of awkward scene composition with Sakura who, like... Wow, she just keeps coming back. Almost like she should have her own game or something. It'd be like separate ways, but it wouldn't fuck as hard. Anyway, she leaves him his packed lunch and C4 charges, and... no kissy. Once again, this mission feels like most other missions you've played before, with the exception being that Tiberium mutants are a bit more common now, and yeah, look, okay, I know that's me who did this, but Havoc's a good guy, okay? This mission does start with taking your weapons from you though, and that actually has an important effect. It's used relatively effectively, even if it is a little annoying. With the new enemies that this game's throwing at you, it reteaches you the hierarchy of weapons you should be using. You shouldn't be sticking with the assault rifle anymore. Chain guns and laser rifles are your new go-to, because they can absolutely mulch vehicles. Something you will definitely learn firsthand. Anyways, going through a far too big a level again as per usual, and we find Sydney, and Ignacio, and Sakura, and Dr. Petrova? Hold on, you mean to tell me that the Central Eastern European scientist who's a new character who was introduced into the Tiberium series action movie video game and wasn't in any video game prior or any video game afterwards was actually a sneaky bad guy? Anyways, we learn she's been working on the ideal of ascension, hence all the weird Tiberium mutant-human hybrids we've been seeing. And also, this tall guy right here, that's Ravishore, who,
At least he's taller.
Oh yeah, fucking of course you say that. Oh, he's tall now, ooh. Anyways, the boss fight with Ravishore is certainly a fight. It feels more like he's a wrestling game character and you're still a first-person shooter character. I love his silly little choke throw, and also his stupid big body slam. Dude is stiff as a board with perfect form. I'd love to see a fight between him and the Great Khali. Also, I love how he gets into position to die as well. Like, this dude can work the hard cam.
Guess size doesn't matter.
Anyways, Sakura's vanished. Again. God, she's so fucking cool. And now, we're saving Ignacio. And... this is where Renegade pulls its final evil trick on you. The Mobiuses have death wishes, and it's your job to escort them. As was the style at the time. It doesn't matter if he's wearing his power suit or his lab coat. This man will run into oncoming fire from lasers, Tiberium, and bullets from ceiling guns because this game has now decided that the buildings themselves want to fucking kill you. On easy, this was hard. And on stream, I still have memories. Link's Winters actually made me a medal after I said I deserve a medal because, well, I did deserve a medal. And, well, that was very kind of him. You should go say hi, he's really lovely. Anyways, one Mobius down and one more to go. I've been here before.
Time to rock and roll.
Tomorrow's technology today is, well, it's like most other Renegade levels before it. Disable the Hand of Nod, destroy the base, get to point B. But to be fair, it's a very cool point B. Your goal of this mission is to infiltrate the Temple of Nod. This is actually a really fun mirror of the final missions of a GDI campaign in the original Command & Conquer, but this time we get to actually enter the Temple of Nod. And there's also a fun little secret in this mission too, with a crashed UFO, which could well be a hint to the Skrin who appeared in Tiberian Sun onwards, although this is a bit more of a classic B-movie UFO than the Skrin ship from Tiberian Sun. There is also an objective to actually get inside the ship, but it is not worth it, so I didn't capture it. Trust me, you're missing nothing. The final mission, Stomping on Holy Ground, captures everything I love about Command & Conquer Renegade, and everything I hate too. It's a mission that is filled to the brim with fun lore ideas, explorations into the inner designs of the Brotherhood of Nod, translations of locations from cutscenes into fully realized 3D spaces, and Easter eggs that are honestly very cool character pieces. Like, of course Kane is petty enough to do this to a guy who nearly sent one of his most promising generals on a suicide run. We also get access to Kane's personal bedroom, which, alright. We also get fun potential implications that Kane may in fact be the biblical Kane. Maybe. It's hard to tell because there's no subtitles in here, and I am in a room overrun with enemies that are trying to kill me, and the room itself is also trying to kill me because it's covered in Tiberium. Yet Renegade's not very good pacing that they try to fill with killing all of the time, action every second forever. Kill! Kill! Comes back with continuous high-tier enemies, including advanced Tiberium mutant soldiers, Black Hand commandos, and confusing map layouts with no real landmarks.
Attention, there is no smoking in the lab.
It is too much. Anyways, after surviving the temple and then breaching the bunker and going through its absolute gauntlet of kill this onslaught of super high tier enemies, you eventually get to the final boss of the game. Dr. Eva Cold War Bad Guy Nova Petrova, that was her name. She's gone through a perfect Tiberium mutation. You can tell because she's bold and green, and she intends to do the same to Sydney, and we can't let that happen. Not that being bold and green is bad, you do whatever you wish, maybe see a doctor though. The cutscene before this fight, however, and its cut into gameplay, will always be funny to me for kind of all the wrong reasons. So we got Havoc, outnumbered and outgunned by so many different kinds of soldiers and Petrova herself. And he just does the entire, yeah, I'm gonna kick everyone's ass. Way past cool! He's not Sonic. Anyway, we cut into the gameplay and then immediately firing squad and they just kill your flat ass. When I streamed this on normal, I just got fucking creamed. I mean, when I streamed this, I got my ass handed to me several times, and the same also happened on easy. I just really loved the premise of, ha! Yeah? You and what army? And then, you know, army. Is it good inadvertent comedy? You bet your sweet bippy. Is it good game design though? No. The boss fight with Petrova is an absolute chore. She is a bullet sponge and a half. Something about being filled with Tiberium. But hey, you're Nick the Big Havoc Commando Parker Man, so naturally you must prevail and save the girl. But in the famous words of our pal, our buddy, our continuous vocal tick that plays in the back of my mind forever, Columbo, just one more thing. You've got to escape the temple and escort an unarmed Sydney against several high-tier enemies that just spawn in and cover her while she sabotages a nuclear missile. In true Renegade fashion, they just destroy the moment with aggravating game design, which, well, that's kind of one of Renegade's calling cards. It is pretty cool to have an ending which kind of apes Tiberian Dawn though. So, you know, mission complete, Mobius is saved, Nod defeated. The game has the kind of ending you'd entirely expect. The kind of ending you've seen before, which, well...
Could have done it left-handed.
Statement issued earlier today, UN Secretary of Defense Dr. Charles Olivetti confirmed that heavy casualties were sustained by Nod forces. However, the use of strategic orbital defense technology cut GDI and civilian losses to, quote, technically acceptable levels.
God, I do not feel good about that title. In fact, if I'm honest, I feel a little mean about it because, well, warts and all, I still love this game. Kind of. Let's try and break this down. Renegade is a strange, weird beast. As I said a while back, it came out in a massive period for first-person shooters. It took lessons from games that came earlier from it, and you can feel those inspirations. The non-stop action of titles like Quake 2, the modern warfare vibes of Soldier of Fortune, the attempts at tactical combat from fighting the grunts in Half-Life, which it did not achieve. It tried melding this with aspects we love from Command & Conquer, namely placing us as the Commando in the Tiberium timeline, translating that moveset and that universe into a single-player first-person experience, letting us enter buildings, drive vehicles, and be the guy. The mission statement is simple, and I believe it kind of succeeded this. Renegade allowed us to do all of this. It at least gained a passing grade in all of those aspects, and when it lets you do that and revel in it, I truly believe this game shines. But the problem is, it doesn't let you do that enough, and that is primarily down to a lot of the design elements in this game. There's no room to breathe in the world for a second. You are constantly under fire, and sometimes there's no time to relish driving in the vehicles because you're placed into situations in which the vehicles aren't really designed for that kind of encounter. The joy of infiltrating buildings also fades away over time because, well, once you've seen one hand of Nod, you've seen them all. Hell, Havoc even has a line about that.
If you destroy that hand of Nod, it should...
Yeah, I know this drill.
Renegade's gameplay remains relatively consistent throughout. It becomes routine. It doesn't change up all that much, and when it does, it doesn't do a good job. I don't remember missions like Stowaway as fondly as I remember missions in Soldier of Fortune, or Deadly Reunion's chaos as fondly as I remember Surface Tension from Half-Life. It doesn't flow like Red Faction, although that game also had its own issues. I feel like I'm just trying to talk myself into making a video about Red Faction. Maybe next year. The additional thing that does compound down on this as well is, well, the big genocidal ring in the room. Halo was doing everything that Renegade did, but it was better. Better mission variety, better vehicles, better story, better pacing, better everything. And it was dominating the first-person shooter conversation at that time. Hey, hi, Editor K back again with a little focus upon something that I hadn't really mentioned earlier in the video. So, Halo and the Xbox didn't come out in the UK until after Renegade. And the PC release was also much, much later, but in the UK, and especially within the UK press, the sway of that game had taken hold. The internet was getting us excited as hell for Halo, and while I couldn't really play it until after Renegade due to the release and also not owning an Xbox, I had friends who did have an Xbox, and well, who am I to deny the siren call of silly cooperative grenades? But Renegade's delay into 2002 made it feel already old on arrival for those who had played Halo. And for those who hadn't, this game was a bit of an ugly duckling mismatch of different kinds of older first-person shooters. But, well, I love me an ugly duckling, especially one as fascinating as this. It was an attempted Hail Mary by a studio who primarily developed real-time strategy games as a crown jewel, utilizing the brand new game engine nobody else was using because it's theirs. So they couldn't really get advice from anyone else, and they used this to bring their titles into the third dimension. It's a spin-off of what was at this point a critically adored series into a new direction. Lest we forget, this is the explosive new action series in the Command & Conquer universe. Sorry, I adore this phrase so much. Look at his face. And look, I'm happy I get to live in this timeline which allowed a studio who know their universe and know what they want to tell with it got to develop this game, but they weren't really quite there in terms of know-how, as you would expect from someone developing a game like this for the first time. But this entire time, I have been focusing on the single player. I've not mentioned the key thing that Renegade is probably most famous for: the multiplayer.
K's talking about Renegade's multiplayer.
told you I would get here eventually. Renegade's multiplayer is definitely the aspect of this game that is remembered the most fondly, and is still celebrated actively today. And I can entirely understand why. The prospect is simple. It's GDI versus NOD. But this isn't just team deathmatch or capture the flag or anything like that. Instead, you start with a full, if a little condensed, Command & Conquer style base, with a power station, defense structure, barracks, vehicle factory, and Tiberium refinery. And the premise is simple. Destroy the opposing base and win the match. You can do this by having more points at the end of a time limit, or by planting a super weapon beacon in the base. And this rules. You could choose your role in the army, be it a classic foot soldier with an assault rifle or maybe rockets, or play as an engineer, or you can call in vehicles, or even become a named hero, like you can be a member of the Dead Six or the Black Hand. Hell, you can even play Ravishore, even if Havoc will probably make horrible jokes about you. Seriously, what was his problem? And the game has this super fun, fast-paced strategy flow, where you defend your own base from infiltrators or vehicles trying to destroy buildings or your harvester from long range, whilst also pushing the enemy base yourself. It's something I would have captured online, but well, people have been playing this non-stop since, well, the actual release of Renegade, and I am not good at the multiplayer because I didn't play this much myself. I was like 10 when this game came out. My speed is still mostly games like Unreal Tournament if I need to do PvP, but I mostly play PvE these days. But the multiplayer is something I believe is definitely worth mentioning because not only is multiplayer active today, it's also been remade once, and it's been modded with even more Westwood games. People have made Red Alert themed mods, Dune mods, there's even a roleplay mod, and there's also a full remake of Renegade's multiplayer in the Unreal Engine called Renegade X. It's a multiplayer mode that has genuinely captured the attention and affection of a lot of players. And I do think that's rad as hell because, well, like a lot of Renegade, this was a really cool idea. But the big difference was, this was a really cool idea done very, very well. I know I keep saying that the state of FPS changed forever, and yes, that includes multiplayer in that statement. But this was such a cool idea that the community refused to let it die because, well, Renegade's multiplayer rips. It's something I'm happy was able to happen, and it all started with a studio saying, hey, this game already is a big risk, so let's try and do something weird and different for multiplayer, as opposed to just deathmatch or capture the flag or anything like that, which still would have been cool. But I think this is a big reason as to why I love Renegade. But also, like I said before, I didn't play the multiplayer much. I know for a lot of people this was the thing to play Renegade for, but I just wasn't interested in it. So I'm once again stuck on the question, what was it about Renegade that made it stick in my head so much? How did a game with a not particularly great single player experience that could have maybe been improved with some different choices, with a multiplayer that's frequently been lauded as one of the best, which I basically never played, lodge itself amongst the wrinkles of my very silly noodle? And hey, you know something? I wish I had a simple answer for this, but well, much like love, I don't have a simple answer, because it ain't that simple. But also, this is a YouTube video, so we should try and reach some form of conclusion, right? So hold on to your butts, gang. I'm going to attempt to be smart. Renegade was, and still is, a weird beast. I gave my reasons as to why I love it before, and I still stand by those. But there are things still in my mind that make me think, maybe this would have made it a better game. Outside of, you know, release timing and being developed by a studio which actually makes first-person shooters. The key thing that got brought up when I streamed this game, and also just whenever I talk to people who have played it, is, would this have been a more memorable game if this was a Red Alert spin-off in which you play as Tanya? And well, maybe? The tone of Renegade feels like it'd fit the Red Alert universe a lot more, considering Red Alert is the more bombastic, Tom Clancy but not as military-industrial complex wanking off in a clown suit Command & Conquer series. It would have been rad to play as Tanya in an over-the-top action movie game, and it actually would have been cool to have two honestly very fun female-fronted spy games in that time period, because this was around the same time as No One Lives Forever. I don't think playing as Tanya would have made this a better game. I think we'd still have the game with the same issues, with a different protagonist, with a relatively similar cast of silly stereotypes. Maybe they'd have more Stalin. Hell, maybe even potentially a Hitler. Who knows when they'd set it? They got time travel on their side. But, well, when they were making Renegade, they were also working on Red Alert 2, so I can understand why they'd want to try and portray both series. There was actually a plan for a sequel in a way to Renegade, which would have been in the Red Alert universe. There were even plans to try and link Red Alert to the Tiberium timeline within that game, until they tried to switch to a potential post-Red Alert 2 Yuri's Revenge game, but, well, sadly they were never to be. This wouldn't be the last time we would see a potential shooter in the Tiberium universe, however.
Tonight, it's the premiere of Game Trailers TV, and I'm locked and loaded.
Sorry about that one. There was a planned game, actually, just straight up called Tiberium, which was planned to be a bit more tactical than Renegade, and would be taking inspiration from the Command & Conquer novel, which I have actually never read. The game's cues for the art direction would come more from Command & Conquer 3, so quite a lot more grounded than Renegade, including using the Skrin as a main opposing force, and honestly, I'm in two minds about it. On one hand, it would have been pretty cool to see more of a post-Tiberian Sun universe, taking more from the expanded lore. But also, I don't think I'd remember this as fondly as Renegade, because it looks very Xbox 360 shooter, or well, PS3 shootery, if you're nasty. Oh, sorry, Jeff Keighley really got me all caught up in a haze. It feels weird saying this because, well, I've never played Tiberium. Chances are this game could have been amazing, but the game looks like a game I have experienced many other times in my life through the multiple lives I have led on account of me being a gamer. I'm sorry. I'm sad it got cancelled, I will say that, and I never want to sit here and be like, maybe it would have released if the devs cared, because that's bullshit behavior. Looking at this, I genuinely believe they did care. Look, in my years of covering and then assisting in dev and marketing games, I have never met a game dev team who've said, bold business strategy here, gang, but hear me out. What if we made this game shit on purpose? Like, that just doesn't happen. That doesn't mean what they've made is incapable of being bad or forgettable. I mean, there's two great shows I think you can check out regards that. Shout out to Back of the Rack and the Bad Game Hall of Fame. But if you think a majority of people working in dev cackle Gruntilda style at the prospect of let's make this one a stinker, then honestly, check yourself. Don't get me wrong, Tiberium was making some odd choices, dropping the Command & Conquer title to become its own thing, despite the fact you don't really need to do that, and surely the Command & Conquer title would help? They were also seemingly missing a lot of key staff from Command & Conquer, which, granted, strategy game, this is an FPS game, but surely you would still want some of those people around. Maybe they were, it's hard to tell, I can't really find much on who was on the development staff of the game. And also, pointing out that your character is apparently a pro poker player who has a freakishly large head. If anyone from the dev team watches this video and sees this, could you, confirm if that was a real thing? Because I only saw this on the C&C wiki, and I would love for that to be true. But anyways, this seemed like it was a fresh team delving into a new age of Command & Conquer. An age that, granted, might not have been for everybody, it's not really my taste, and it also featured a game that I would probably claim is for nobody. And while this spin-off may well have ended up along that same kind of trajectory, it was still out here aiming to try stuff that was new, which is something I genuinely love about spin-off games in general. And Lord knows we've had some pretty fucking pivotal spin-offs these days. Think of Nier. It's one of the coolest, weirdest series out there, and it really, really gets at people's hearts because it is so beautiful. And it was born out of an ending of Drakengard. And also, let's not forget Dark Messiah of Might and Magic, which kind of moved away from being all strategic and focused more on kicking people, which was super fun, minus the irritating turbo-horny succubus. Seraph, I love it when you murder people. Hey, look, yeah, we get it, Queen. Like I have any room to talk anyway. Something big, but something wants to get folded like a fucking pretzel like the sub-bitch she is. Anyway, let's not forget about the wildly successful Persona series, which I would say has taken more of a limelight away from the Shin Megami Tensei line of games. Which is a shame, because Shin Megami Tensei does feature Dante from the Devil May Cry series in, like, one of the games. Forgotten which one. Also, please hear me out on this one, because I genuinely believe this game could have been fantastic if the development wasn't hell, because, oh god, it seems like the development was hell, but I was really looking forward to The Bureau XCOM Declassified. I think that game could have been excellent. And okay, here's one that I think like 2 of my friends might get annoyed at me saying, but I genuinely think Apex is a very fun spin-off of Titanfall, and I got sad that the spin-off that was planned for Apex got cancelled.
Trust me.
And look, hey, I am not a fan of live service games as stories because they're all written like Charles Dickens style serials. Like, look, I don't care about the Charles Dickens Battle Pass, I don't care about Pip's golden Great Expectations costume, and I hate the fact that in serialized storytelling, it feels like the plot never ends. And that's why I also think Overwatch 2, as stupid as that whole debacle was, would never have had a decent story in amongst its, let's be real, most likely half-baked PvE offerings. And yeah, I would rather live in a world with Titanfall 3, but I think a divergent game with a fully fledged story in the universe of Apex could have been cool. I think the idea of being a exceptionally talented warrior that isn't a pilot is kinda rad. And also imagine trying to deal with a Titan as not a pilot. And also thinking of that, it feels like Left Alive and the Wanzers. Like, that game could have been cool. If it was good. Okay, I'm gonna stop being silly. I feel like I am just digging a big hole for myself right now. Actually, no, fuck it. I'm gonna keep being silly, as is the will of my heart and the mass of my ass. I love a bunch of spin-off games that aren't even good games. Like, I adore Mortal Kombat Mythology's Sub-Zero. That game is incredibly stupid, it's terrible, and yet every time I see those cutscenes, it fills my heart with genuine wonder. Yeah, I realize that might just be the FMV fangirl and me screaming, but like, hey, that's fine. That's actually pretty cool. I really like when studios get to test the waters with their established franchises and maybe make something a little left field. And I think Renegade is one of the best examples of that. This was a team of strategy aficionados, pushing the boat out to make a first-person shooter, and with all of its warts and all of its shine, combined with the time period it was released in, I feel like they made something that was properly, lovably weird. It has so many issues, like, could I ever recommend it? No, never. But do I love it? Yes. Yes, I actually do. I love when studios get to experiment and get a little wild with whatever they're working on. I wish we could see more of it, if I'm entirely honest. Like, I really respect these kinds of games. I have a huge love for them, even if the game is bad, because, well, you gave it a go. And I like when games can do that. So that's Renegade. It's not really much of a secret that I've been trying to get this video together for months. And as I've kind of mentioned throughout this video, as well as on streams and social media, it's been an uphill battle of scope creep, client work, and, well, bad mental health. In a weird way though, this has kind of helped me hit a point on how I think I can describe my feelings on Command & Conquer Renegade. I do want to say when I get to this point, I want to give a huge thank you for the inspiration and also helping find the words to Tall High Heels. She really hit me with the inspiration hammer on this one, and she is awesome. She's one of my favorite YouTubers, and her music is so good. I highly recommend checking out her channel, and if you want to listen to some of her music, the Bandcamp is also in my description. But, here it goes. I think the best way to describe Renegade is It's a game I love thinking about, and a game I love talking about, more so after the fact than actually playing it. Renegade is not a great game, but it's enough to stick in my head, and it is an awesome little curio. And honestly, my heart has so much room for games like this. It's an interesting game that leads to interesting conversation. Maybe. I'm sure it could be interesting if it wasn't me yapping at you in a rambling kind of way. But hey, look, I'm allowed one self-deprecating joke per video, and it took me this long to make it, so why don't you be proud of little old me? It's the existence of both the excellent game-changing multiplayer and the frankly confusing but potential-filled single player that I think would lead to more interesting conversations like the one that actually made Renegade, and also hopefully leads to better interesting games. Like, don't get me wrong, Tiberium looked fine, but it wasn't Renegade. I think it looked a little too safe. I think that game would have been lost in the shuffle of the numerous brown saturated shooter fields of the Xbox 360 and PS3. But Renegade was such a weird anomaly that it really does stick out. You have that peculiar single-player campaign that's kinda like a geode, I guess. Sometimes it's shiny and it makes the most out of its universe, its players and its gameplay. And other times it's dull as a rock. Hilariously, it's the single-player campaign that I think would actually benefit the most from a Night Dive remaster, but well, I doubt that'll be happening anytime soon. Especially now. God, you know, if I could just like live in precedented times whilst I'm producing a video, that would be really, really nice. It was a risk, it was ambitious, it was janky, it was a little stupid, but it was absolutely memorable and hugely inspiring, and I wish we had more games like that nowadays. So, there we go. That's Renegade. This is going to be the last big focus on a game video for the year. I've started work on the next project, which, it's not Red Faction. I kind of talked myself into making another video, but we will definitely look at Red Faction if people would like me to. I do, however, have at least one more video planned for this year, which is going to be the AMA that you lot unlocked by donating during Transstate. So you can follow the link on screen or in the description and drop me a question if you want. I would really love to see what people want to ask. But hey, thanks for watching. This was a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. And, well, I'll catch you next transmission, babe. Hello, lovely. It's the K who lives in the credits. I'm recording this the evening before it goes out. I'm just doing the subtitles and it's like 11 PM here, so I'm a little because Premiere crashes all the time with captioning. It is the pits, but it is important for me to do. Just wanted to say thank you for getting here, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, subscribing and liking would be real nice, and commenting would also be real excellent. I don't like doing this kind of TTA stuff, it feels a little there, but I don't know, I guess I just feel like it's worth adding into the video at this point. I think a big part of me would just really like to talk about C&C with people, because it's a series that means a lot to me. Also, in terms of comments, I know I set up a Google form thing for the AMA, but if you'd rather leave a comment for the AMA, like in the YouTube comments down below, then go ahead. That would also be easy and cool and fine. Anyways, like I said, I have the next big video planned, which you may have guessed is going to be for heavy metal, which did have a video game. It's going to be really fun to talk about. But for now, I got a lot of freelance work on, and I need a lot of sleep, because this has been a huge project I've been trying to piece together for a long time. So, look after yourself, and I'll see you at the AMA, okay? Take care of yourself, babe.